Good afternoon, Station 121 and Avenue 1. This is Danny Gould with the Gould team selling Silicon Valley. And in this video, we're gonna go over exactly what you got in the mail last week. If you live at Avenue 1 or Station 121, you should have gotten something in the mail that looks like this. And if you're a single family homeowner, you probably got something that looks like this. If you're a condo town homeowner, you got something that looks like this. And so what I'm gonna do is break down the information that's here in these postcards so that you can make the most informed decision, real estate decision possible for you and for your family. And if you are, I understand, by the way, that only a small subsection, a small portion of you are thinking about selling in the next 12 to 24 months, right? If you are thinking about selling in the next 12 to 24 months, this is relevant information for you. If you're not thinking about selling in the next 12 to 24 months, sure, knowing what's going on in the market is definitely a good thing, right? But this does not directly impact you because there's gonna be ebbs and flows, right? And that's what you need to understand as a homeowner is that the value of your home is gonna go up, it's going to go down, and there's these peaks and valleys, and it's a big bubble bath, really, right? There's going to be bubbles, there's going to be not bubbles, and we're just swimming in a bubble bath. That's just the way things work here. Well, things work in the real estate and housing market, regardless. But without further ado, let's kind of dive in to some of the statistics here. And by the way, before we go any further, I want to encourage all of you right now, if you haven't already done so, to subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I go over the market statistics every single week. And if you want, you can subscribe to my weekly newsletter as well, where I actually direct you straight to that video. And what I talk about there are the Santa Clara County market statistics in general, and those directly feed into what you see here, right? That's the macro. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the micro, right? And what happens at a macro level doesn't necessarily affect you, right? It doesn't necessarily pertain to you, but at the same time, you need to know what's going on in the entire market to really understand how that affects you. Because let's face it, 95123, we're in South San Jose. Well, we're towards the lower end, right, of the spectrum when it comes to housing here in Santa Clara County. And so what you have to realize is that there's a lot of houses that are more expensive that are further up the peninsula, and there's a lot of pressure right now on that high end, right, on that top quartile of the market. And as a result, what happens in the high end eventually trickles down to everyone else. And guaranteed in the headlines over the next 3 to 5 months, what you're going to start to see is headlines popping up in the Mercury News saying that prices are going down. Well, listen, this isn't front page news. If you pay attention to the market updates that I've been sending out, if you're subscribed to my channel, you'll know that over the past 3 to 4 weeks, we're seeing all the indicators that prices are gone down year over year, right? And if you look at prices where they were a year ago, especially if you're at Avenue 1, versus where they are today, you'll know prices have gone down, right? And so it's not front page news, but at the same time it is, because eventually everything that gets fed by the media to the public takes some time, right? To get regurgitated by the media, processed, and then spit back out to the general public. So without further ado, let's dive into these. Let's start with the condos and the townhomes. And for the single family folks, you can skip ahead if you want to, but this is relevant information for you too, I'm sure. Both postcards read that this is a strong seller's market, right? And this information is provided by Altos Research, ALTOS. You can Google them. And very, very complex. They break down very complex data and make it very palatable, right, for the layman. And so, not that you're a layman, but so strong seller's market. What does that mean, right? Because it doesn't seem like a seller's market right now, right? And so what you need to understand is that there are several lead and lag measures that constitute whether or not the market is a seller's market or not. And one of the biggest determining factors in whether or not it's a seller's market is inventory levels, right? And right now, the inventory levels in 95123 and across the county, they're up where they were last year, from where they were last year, right? If we see here, we see there's 31 active condos and townhomes for sale, right? So that's not that much, ladies and gentlemen. Now, when we take into account all the new construction that's being built in 95123, specifically back there at the new Pulte community, that definitely impacts how much inventory there is. But for the sake of resales, 31 is not a lot of inventory, right? Now, that's one piece of the puzzle, right? The other piece of the puzzle is how much of the market is being absorbed, right? And so that is pending or days on market, right? How long do things take to sell? If you remember last year, things were selling in a week. Now the median day or average days on market is 28. That's almost an entire month to get a property sold. So what does this mean for you if you're thinking about selling your home? Well, a couple things. First thing that I would say is that long gone are the days of underpricing your home to try and drive up the price, right? Unless you aggressively price your home like $200,000 under what it's worth, or 150, right? Anything less than that, you're really devaluing your property, right? You need to go into the listing process fully expecting to withstand that, full 28 days. Well, that in and of itself may be disconcerting for some of you that were expecting to sell your home rather quickly. What you need to understand is that the tactics and the methodology used to sell your property are actually going to be a lot different now, because let's face it, you can't just stick up a sign in the front yard, take some pictures, put it on the MLS, and pray that someone comes in and offers you like, $200,000 over what you listed it for. That's not the strategy anymore. Now there's a more prolonged approach, right? And only certain individuals, certain agents, and certain teams have the infrastructure in place to actually sustain a listing for more than 14 days, right? And so you're already starting to see it. A lot of agents that don't have that bandwidth are slowly starting to actually just like phase out of the business already. And it's been less than a year where this has been the case, or this has been the market. But you will continue, as days on market increase, and I fully expect them to increase, not decrease, expect that to become more and more of the trend. And so make sure that you're asking the right questions. Am I going to have a host here every Saturday and Sunday until my house sells, right? Because let's face it, before you only needed a host for 1 or 2 weekends. Now you need a host for maybe 1 to 2 months. That's like 4x the amount. So think about that, right? So that's for condos and townhomes. Another thing to keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, is that the median price at the top, all the median prices have dropped, right? If you pay attention, and this is the first time, or one of the first times that I've sent out, not the first time, but one of the only times I've sent out Altos reports to you. I'm going to continue to send these out on a more consistent basis, but the median prices have dropped, right? And so before they were in the millions, and now it's the 998, right? And so that means less of the higher end homes are selling, and overall prices are dropping. I recently sold at Avenue 1 an Ellington Plan 3, which is 2250 square feet, and we sold that one for $1,045,000. Right? Now there's nothing listed at Avenue 1 for less than $1 million, or for more than $1 million. Think about that, right? So prices have dropped significantly even in the last 3 to 4 months. So with that being said, what does that mean for you? Because it's still a seller's market, right? So if you're thinking about selling your home, this is what you need to come to terms with, right? Is that the peak of the market has passed, right? And what the next 6 to 12 to 18 months looks like for you is that your neighbors will continue to give away your equity, okay? And that's just the unfortunate side effect of a market like this, right? Where the buyer demand is still there, But since there's 3 times as many condos and townhomes on the market this year than there were at this time last year, think about that. There's triple the amount of inventory for condos and townhomes alone. There's like 1.5x the amount of single families. So there's more to choose from on both ends of the spectrum. And so if you have a condo or a townhome, right, and you're thinking about selling it, with that much increased inventory and that much more to choose from, buyers are going to be more selective. They're going to take longer to make a decision, right? And suddenly there is way more, there's way more to choose from. And so you're not necessarily going to get the price that you thought that you could get a year ago, right? And so when you look at this, and you ask like, well, how do I interpret this? Because it's a strong seller's market still. Just think about this, right? As the leading indicators start to progress, right? As inventory continues to rise, and if pending sales go down and the appetite of the buyer continues to go down, the market action index that you see here will continue to fall, right? I don't expect it to fall into buyer market territory, right? Because a lot needs to happen for that to come into effect. In fact, there needs to be like pretty much triple the amount of inventory that there is right now. They're going to need to be over 100 condos and townhomes on the market for us to actually be in a buyer's market here in 95123 and in the Avenue 1, Station 121 area. But there will be opportunities for other sellers to come in and undercut you by 10, 20, or 30,000. So my suggestion to you would be don't let that person do that to you, right? Don't let that be the case, okay? If you're thinking about selling in the next 12 to 18 months and you have some flexibility, I would do it sooner rather than later. Spring, fall, great times to sell. Summer, I'm not saying don't do it. Let's definitely, start a conversation, but don't necessarily put the home on the market in July. Not always the best idea. And as we continue to go into July and August, you'll see that days on market will continue to increase, right? And then as we go into the fall, we should see a decrease in days on market, meaning that things take less time to sell because there's going to be less inventory at that time and more buyers in the market. They all come back from vacation because their kids have to go to school. Got it? Okay. Now, single family homes, the market action index is a little bit higher. And what you have to understand is that single families, all things being equal, right? If it's the same price in the same area, more families will tend to opt for the single family option with the backyard than the condos and townhomes. Now, the funny thing about Avenue 1 and Station 121, well, Station 121, you don't have any single families, but Avenue 1 single family homes have smaller backyards, right? So it's almost like the added benefit of the single family is a lower HOA, right? And a little bit of a backyard, right? So that's why when you see here, days on market, average days on market for the top quartile, which is around 1.239, which is about what a lot of those single families are going for right now in Avenue 1, we're seeing 82 days on the market. So, what's the strategy for a seller that on average will need to wait 82 days? The strategy is this. You price the home where you want it to be, right? You tell the market what you want, because within reason, obviously, right? Because you don't underprice the home anymore, right? And overpricing it is gonna put you at such a detriment, the home isn't gonna sell, right? There's only 2 reasons a home doesn't sell. It's marketing or it's price. And if your home is way overpriced and you're sitting on the market for 120 days and it's not selling, something's wrong, right? Because it takes on average 82 days. Make sense? So, when you're looking at this, right, I feel more bullish on the single family market than I do with the condo and townhome. I think single families will hold their value a little bit better during this phase. I don't know what it is. Is it a market correction? Could be. There are certainly leading indicators of the market correcting itself right now, right? And the only thing that could save us is if the Fed, cuts the rates so low that they artificially inject more buyers into the market. That could very well be the case, but until that happens, we're really, looking at an average days on market of 42 days. Think about that, folks. That's literally 1.5 months. Whereas before, we were talking 7 days maximum, right? So there are certainly ways to maximize the level of exposure, right? To make sure that that doesn't happen to you. So to reduce the number of days on market, right? But with an average days of 42 days, you need to expect your agent and your team to be able to withstand that kind of that length of duration, right? Because ultimately their inventory levels are also going up. Think about that, right? A good team, a good agent, they are holding on to more properties right now for a longer period of time, and so they need to have the infrastructure in place to help you as well. So make sure you're asking the right questions, right? Because that certainly should be of top priority, a top concern for you as a home seller if you're thinking about selling in the next 12 to 24 months. But ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to take away from this is that there's no reason to panic, right? I think a lot of people see this and they're thinking, oh my God, the market's gonna crash. It's not gonna crash, right? It's definitely not gonna crash. The factors and reasons leading up to the last market crash, right? Or the market crash in 2008, that was a direct result of bad lending practices, right? And that was the causation of the economic collapse in the United States of America. There's no faulty lending practices going on right now. There's nothing going on in the housing industry in and of itself that's going to cause the next collapse. I think the collapse after this one will be a direct cause of the U.S. Or of the U.S. housing market, and it'll be because people are borrowing too much against their houses. But that's a conversation for another day. Just bottom line, don't pull out more than you need to on your house. Don't use it as a piggy bank. But because then you'll be one of the people on the next, you know what I'm saying, right? But ultimately, if you have any questions, any further questions about this, or if you have any concerns, or if you just want to chat with me, I'm always available for you. My information is on this card. If you threw it away, you can go ahead and email me at dgould, D-G-O-U-L-D, at intero.com, or you can call me. On this video, I will leave my direct cell phone. It's 408-531-7654. That's 408-531-7654. And feel free to reach out to me. I'm always available to discuss your situation. And I understand, look, what you need to also understand, ladies and gentlemen, is that every situation, every home is unique, right? And so we talk this, like there's macro, then there's micro, and then there's like nano. You're the nano, right? And so we got to get in there and really analyze your situation to make sure that we're, setting things up properly to set you up for success, because every story is going to be different. So anyways, guys, this is Danny Gould with the Gould team selling Silicon Valley. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you all in the next video.